Hello, here testing the audio. New computer's not working. Hello, hello. This is a little shaky. We don't want this one. For the next one. Okay. For actual stream, let's go ahead and make sure we have some type of backdrop. I think the books will go there. This is not bad. Go ahead and it is already up. I'm thinking. Oh, it's really day 0. I don't see why I can't just use some water. Oh, that's so frustrating. He composes tune when the toes is. Do I even have? I don't even think I have. All right, for this first one, we're gonna Harry Potter is super iconic, right? Then what happened to the second book? Let's read and roast it. Chapter 1, The Worst Birthday. Okay. Not for the first time, an argument had broken out over the breakfast at number 4 Pivot Drive. Mr. Vernon Dursley had been woken in the early hours of the morning by a loud hooting noise from his nephew Harry's room. I like when my kids wake me up at 5 a.m. in the morning. This time this week, he roared across the table. If you can't control that owl, it'll have to go. Harry tried yet again to explain, "She's bored," he said. "She's used to flying around outside. If you could just let her out at night." "Do I look stupid?" snarled Uncle Vernon. Wow, he's snarling and roared. He's roaring and snarling already. Okay. A bit of fried egg dangled off his bushy mustache. Good visual. "I know what'll happen if I let the owl out." "Oh, would you tell us?" He exchanged dark looks with his wife, Petunia. Petunia's got to be like one of the worst names out there, right? So bad. Harry tried to argue back, but his words were drowned by a long, loud belch from Dursley's son, Dudley. Okay. He's just, the fat guy that Rowling roasts. "I want more bacon." "There's more in the frying pan, sweetums," said Aunt Petunia, turning misty-eyed on her massive he's making fun of his weight again. "We must build you up while we've got the chance." "I don't like the sound of that. School food." "Nonsense, Petunia. I never meant hungry when I was at Smeltings," said Uncle Vernon heartily. Smeltings. She picked the most boring, names, the most boring school. Pretty smart. "Dudley gets enough, don't you, son?" Dudley, who was so large his bottom drooped over either side of the kitchen chair, grinned and turned to Harry. It's the third fat shaming thing in less than 2 full pages there. "Yeah. Pass the frying pan." "You've forgotten the magic word," said Harry, irritably. The effects of this simple sentence on the rest of the family was incredible. Dudley gasped and fell out of his chair with a crash that shook the whole kitchen. Did he, though? Miss Dursley gave a small scream and clapped her hands to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins throbbing in his temples. "I meant please," said Harry quickly. "I didn't mean—" "What have we told you?" thundered his uncle, spraying spit all over the table, "about saying the magic word or the M word in our house?" Oh, yeah, they don't like magic. "But how dare you threaten Dudley?" roared Uncle Vernon, pounding on the table with his fist. I warned you, I will not tolerate any mention of your abnormal or it's 5 a.m. "I will not tolerate mention of your abnormality under this roof." Harry stared from his purple-faced uncle to his pale aunt, who was trying to heave Dudley to his feet. Okay. "All right," said Harry, "all right." Uncle Vernon sat back down, breathing like a winded rhinoceros. Yeah, Uncle Vernon has just been the whole time described as an animal roaring, um, spewing spit. That's good. Dudley's described as fat, and Aunt Petunia is like pale. Ever since Harry had come home from the summer holidays, Uncle Vernon had been treating him like a bomb that might go off at any moment. What year was this made? She's from England, but this is poor taste. If it's... Oh, yeah, she's good. Of course. Gosh, this book is so old now. Harry Potter was a wizard, if you didn't know. A wizard fresh from his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft. With It's 5 o'clock again. School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This one will never see the light of day. And if the Dursleys were unhappy to have him back for the holidays, it was nothing to how Harry felt. He missed Hogwarts so much it was like having a constant stomachache. He missed the castle with its secret passageways and ghosts, his classes, the mail arriving by owl, eating banquets in the great hall, sleeping in his four-poster bed in the tower dormitory, visiting the gatekeeper Hagrid in his cabin next to the forbidden forest in the grounds. You're not allowed to do that though, right? And especially Quidditch, the most popular sport in the wizarding world. Quidditch is a broken game. All Harry Potter spell books, his wands, his robes, his cauldron, top of the line Nimbus 2000 broomstick had been locked in a cupboard under the stairs by Uncle Vernon. The instant Harry had come home, what did the Dursleys care if Harry lost his place on the Quidditch team because he hadn't practiced all summer? What was it to the Dursleys if Harry went back to school without any of his homework done? Dursleys were what wizards called muggles. A little bit of refresher. And as far as they were concerned, having a wizard in the family was a matter of deepest shame. Uncle Vernon had even padlocked Harry's owl, Hedwig, inside her cage to stop her from carrying messages to anyone in the wizarding world. Yeah, you mentioned that already. Harry looked nothing like the rest of his family. Uncle Vernon was large and neckless, with an enormous black mustache. Aunt Petunia was horse-faced and bony. Dudley was blonde, pink, and porky. Okay, another. You fat shaming him hard. Harry, on the other hand, was small and skinny, with brilliant green eyes and jet black hair. Look, look. If you're fat, God still loves you, even though this writer might not. The scar was the only hint of. Harry, on the other hand, was small, though skinny, with brilliant green eyes and jet black hair that was always untidy. He wore round glasses on his forehead, was thin, light-shaped scar. And on his forehead was a thin, lightning-shaped scar, of course. It was the scar that made Harry so particularly unusual. Even for a wizard, this scar was the only hint of Harry's very mysterious past, of the reason he had left on the Dursleys' doorstep 11 years before, at the age of 1 year old. Harry had somehow survived a curse from the greatest dark sorcerer of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches and wizards still feared to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow nobody understood why. Voldemort's powers had been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. So Harry had been brought up by his dead mother's sister and her husband. He had spent 10 years with the Dursleys, never understanding why he kept making odd things happen without meaning to, believing the Dursleys' story that he had got his scar in the car crash that killed his parents. And then, exactly a year ago, Hogwarts had written to Harry, and the whole story had come out. Harry had taken up his place at the wizarding school, where he and his scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back with the Dursleys for the summer, back to being treated like a dog that rolled in something smelly. Yeah, this is quite effective. Dursleys hadn't even remembered that today happened to be Harry's 12th birthday. Ooh. Of course his hopes hadn't been high. They'd never given him a real present, let alone a cake. But to ignore it completely? At that moment, Uncle Vernon cleared his throat importantly and said, "Now, as we all know, today is a very important day." Harry looked up, hardly daring to believe it. "This could very well be the day I make the biggest deal of my career," said Uncle Vernon. Harry went back to his toast. Of course, he thought bitterly. Uncle Vernon was telling about his stupid dinner party. He'd been talking about nothing else for 2 weeks. Some rich builder and his wife were coming to dinner, and Uncle Vernon was hoping to get a huge order from him. Drills. Oh, yeah, his company made drills. I think we should run through the schedule one more time, said Uncle Vernon. We should all be in position at 8 o'clock. Petunia, you will be in the lounge, said Aunt Petunia promptly, waiting to welcome them graciously to our home. Good, good, and Dudley, I'll be waiting to open up the door. Dudley put on a foul, simpering smile. May I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Manson? They'll love him, cried Aunt Petunia rapturously. Wow, why can't she just ever say said? Excellent, Dudley, said Uncle Vernon. Then he rounded on Harry. And you? I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending like I'm not there, Harry said tonelessly. Oh, wait. I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, said Harry tonelessly. That was better, right? I'll announce dinner, said Aunt Petunia. And Dudley, you'll say, may I take you through the dining room, Miss Manson? Dudley offering his fat arm to an invisible woman. That's the 5th time. You know, there's more about him than him being just fat. Why are we bullying? My perfect little gentleman. Well, he's not little. Oops. And you, said Uncle Vernon viciously to Harry, I'll be in my room, making no noise at all. This time he said it dully. Precisely. Now we should aim to get in a few compliments at dinner. Petunia, any ideas? Vernon tells me you're a wonderful golfer, Mr. Mason. Do you tell me where you bought your dress, Miss Manson? Perfect. Dudley, how about we had to write an essay about our hero at school, Mr. Mason, and I wrote about you. This was too much for both Aunt Petunia and Harry. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and hugged her son while Harry ducked under the table so they wouldn't see him laughing. And you, boy, Harry forgot to keep his face straight. I'll be in my room making no noise and pretending I'm not there, he said. Too right, you will, Uncle Vernon said forcefully. The Masons don't know anything about you, and it's going to stay that way. When dinner's over, you'll take Miss Mason back to the lounge for coffee, Petunia, and I'll bring the subject around to drills. With any luck, I'll have the deal signed and sealed before news at 10. We'll be shopping for a vacation home in, I don't know where that is, this time tomorrow. Harry couldn't feel too excited about this. He didn't think the Dursleys would like him any better in that place than they did on Pivot Drive. Majorca. That's what it's Majorca, right? Right. I'm off into town to pick up the dinner jackets for dinner jackets. Dudley and me and you. Dinner jackets must be an England thing. What's a dinner jacket? He snarled at Harry. You stay out of your aunt's way while she's cleaning. Why wouldn't you make him clean? You know, even the evil stepmother knew that. Harry left through Harry left through the back door. It was brilliant, sunny day. He crossed the lawn, slumped down into the garden bench, and sang under his breath, "Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me." No cards, no presents, and he would be spending the evening pretending not to exist. He gazed miserably into the hedge. He had never felt so lonely. More than anything, oh, that's my stomach. I've never felt so hungry. More than anything else at Hogwarts, more than even playing Quidditch, Harry missed his best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. They, however, didn't seem to be missing him at all. Neither of them had written to him all summer, even though Ron had said he was going to ask Harry to come and stay countless times. Harry had been on the point of unlocking Hedwig's cage by magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a letter, but it wasn't worth the risk. Underage wizards weren't allowed to use magic outside of school. Harry hadn't told the Dursleys this. He knew it was only their terror that might turn them all into dung beetles that stopped them from locking him in the cupboard under the stairs with his wand and broomstick. For the first couple of weeks back, Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and watching Dursley tear out of the room as fast as his fat legs. It's the sixth time. Always fat. But the long silence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry feel so cut off from the magical world that even taunting Dudley had lost its appeal. And now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. What wouldn't he give now for a message from Hogwarts, from any witch or wizard? He'd almost be glad of a sight of his arch enemy, Draco Malfoy. They're just spelling it. She's just spelling everything out, isn't she? Just to be sure it hadn't all been a dream. Not that this whole year at Hogwarts had been fun. At the very end of the last term, Harry had come face to face with none other than Lord Voldemort himself. Voldemort might be a ruin of his former self, but he was still terrifying, still cunning, still trapped on the back of some guy's face. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches for a second time, but it had been a narrow escape, and even now, weeks later, Harry had kept waking in the night, drenched in a cold sweat, wondering where Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his wide, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright in the garden bench. He had been staring absent-minded into the hedge, and the hedge was staring back. Two enormous green eyes had appeared among the leaves. Does every magical being have green eyes? Harry jumped to his feet just as a jeering voice floated across the lawn. "I know what day it is," sang Dudley, waddling around towards him. The huge eyes blinked and vanished. "What?" said Harry, not taking his eyes off the spot where they had been. "I know what day it is," Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. "Well done," said Harry. "So you've finally learned the days of the week. Today's your birthday," sneered Dudley. "How come you haven't got any cards? Haven't you even got friends at that freak place? Better not let your mum hear you talking about my school," said Harry coolly. Plugging in the computer because it's not plugged in. Plugging in the computer because it's not plugged in. I hope you enjoyed the song of me plugging in my computer. Because now it's plugged in. "Why are you staring at the hedge?" he said suspiciously. "I'm trying to decide what would be the best spell to set it on fire," said Harry. Dudley stumbled back at once, look of panic on his fat face. Okay. Okay. "You can't," Dad told you you're not allowed to do magic. He said he'll chuck you out of the house, and you haven't got anywhere else to go. You haven't got any friends to take you. Jiggery pokery, said Harry in a fiery voice. Hocus pocus, squiggly wiggly. Mum, howled Dudley, tripping over his feet as he dashed back towards the house. Mum, he's doing you know what. Harry paid dearly for this moment of fun, as neither Dudley nor the hedge was in any way hurt. Aunt Petunia knew he hadn't really done magic, but he still had to duck as she aimed a heavy blow at his head with the soapy frying pan. She's chucking frying pans at him? Wow. The 90s was a wild place, everybody. I know. I lived through most of it. Then she gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't eat again until he's finished. Well, you should have done that before. Like, take a page from the evil stepmom, put him to work. Don't let him just sit out in the garden. He's gonna do some crazy stuff. Come on. At least be a good evil stepmom. Harry cleaned the windows, washed the cars, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned and watered the roses, and repainted the garden bench. Wow, that was quick, Harry. The sun blazed overhead, burning the back of his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen to Dudley's bait, but Dudley had said the very thing Harry had been thinking himself. Maybe he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. Wish they could see the famous Harry Potter now, he thought savagely as he spread manure on the flower beds, his back aching, sweat running down his face. It was 7:30 in the morning when at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him, "Get in here and walk on the newspaper." Okay. Oh, for his feet. Harry moved gladly to the shade of the gleaming kitchen. On top of the fridge stood tonight's pudding, a huge mound of whipped cream and sugared violets. A loin of roast pork was sizzling in the oven. Eat quickly, the Masons will be here soon, snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing at 2 slices of bread and a lump of cheese on the kitchen table. She was already wearing a salmon pink cocktail dress. Why couldn't he just eat in his room? Harry washed his hands and bolted down his pitiful supper. Bolted down his pitiful. The moment he had finished, Aunt Petunia whisked away his plate. Upstairs, Harry. As he passed the door in the living room, Harry caught a glimpse of Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties and dinner jackets again. He had only just reached the upstairs landing when the doorbell rang and Uncle Vernon's furious face appeared at the foot of the stairs. "Remember, boy, one sound." Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, and turned to collapse on his bed. The trouble was, there was already someone sitting on it. Oh, good ending, good ending. So, I'm joking about it. Obviously, this was written in the early 90s. A lot of fat shaming, but besides that, it's really just like a recap summary, and it's kind of boring if you know that. But at the time, if you're a kid and you're reading this, she kind of perfectly sums up everything that you need to know, all the way down to, Professor Snape is even in there. Lord Voldemort is mentioned 2 times. You can really just come into this without even reading the first book and kind of be there, you know? The first book was pretty good, I think, in my opinion, if I remember correctly. This is the only copy of a book that I have of hers, which is funny because it's widely renowned as one of her worst. But as far as the pull of this, she's really, really going for that empathy for Harry. And that's the one thing that really attaches the audience to this book is Harry. I really hope that hasn't been there the whole time. That mouse. Oh well. But that's really what attaches the audience to this book and keeps them connected is their connection with Harry, right? It's very, very relatable, even as an adult reading this, many years removed from, the 90s and the age where I would really be able to relate to Harry. I'm still able to relate to Harry. I mean, everybody is, right? The concept of not knowing if he has any friends, the extreme kind of form of bullying that he's receiving, as far as taunts, treated like a smelly dog, getting frying pans thrown at him. It's all contrived and written in a way that you feel for Harry. And again, that is it. That's the draw right now. You're supposed to have sympathy for Harry. You're supposed to be able to relate to him. Because everybody has had those days where they're like, I'm not sure if I'm loved. I don't know if I have any friends. To have it be on his birthday is such a central moment because I think everybody could just relate to that feeling of, gosh, I'm not loved. And that's exactly what Harry is feeling. Harry is questioning. Um, as we read through it, we'll really see and tell if he is, goes from that starting point of, hey, not feeling loved to the end. I as I remember correctly, it's very kind of muddled as far as his character arc. It's been a while since I've read it, but we have a starting point here where we have a Harry that's very low, very just down on himself, and we'll see if he's able towards the end of the book to have a certain level of confidence and be able to I don't know, pull a magical rabbit out of a hat. I mean sword. Um, but yeah, I think that's that. Should we just read the last chapter? Oh, let's do it. No, let's not. It's really long. I think my kid's waking up already. Whoops.